All right, hey everybody. I'm John Beck. I'm the Ag Cost Share Program Manager here. In my role, I essentially kind of administer and guide and provide advice and answer questions on anything Ag Cost Share Program related. So if you have these that come up, first point of contact would be your cost share specialist like Lisa. And then they can loop me in, or if you have something very particular, just feel free to reach out to me. But for today, what we have for the orientation is we're going to start with the cost share contracting system, or CS squared. CS2 has various names. And then the end of the CS2 process is RFPs. So Lisa will pick up where I leave off. So I'll cover kind of the contract entry part, and then Lisa will talk about the payment part. What I'm going to try to do here, this is kind of a new thing that we're testing out as far as orientation goes. CS2 has been very generally and broadly covered in these type of new employee orientations in the past. And for this one, I was trying to think about a new way to handle it. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of go over how to get into it, how to get started, but then a lot of the what do you need to know. What are the things that you will have to help your contract entry process run as smoothly as possible? And then I'll kind of mix in some of the actual program. I'll show you a little bit, and we can do some troubleshooting as well, hopefully. So the first thing to look at, if I can get the slide to move, there we go, is how do you get there? So everybody should be experts at, it's shared. Everybody should be experts at this website. The website is like everything in this program. So you get there, if you go to ACSP, any program, there's going to be down here below Best Management is a CS2 access. When you click on that, it'll show you the link. The main thing I can tell you here is when you go to the login page, just don't bookmark that or you will have problems. I save this page and I just click on the link when I need to log in. And that seems to be working fine. Below that, what I want to call your attention to, and we won't spend too much time on this part, is some helpful things. So we have a quick guide, a quick reference here, and some like contact info, and then some videos. Now, there have been some updates to CS2 since last time those things were updated, but they are still very helpful. They'll get you most of the way there, or common questions or troubleshooting that you might have. It's really the step-by-step process to go through this that in more detail than I'll be able to go over today. So just please be aware of those and look at them, and we're going to try to also get those updated to the current system as soon as we can. And then also on this page is NCID instruction. So I'll get back to that momentarily. But first, just a quick review. When you go to that step-by-step, there's a PDF in there that has literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, click here, add this, do this. So this thing is really, really helpful if you can use it. We've gotten good feedback on that, as well as the videos. And then there's also a RFP, a similar thing for RFP that Lisa will talk about too. So if you haven't done it in a while, or you need a refresher, or you can't remember or figure something out, this would be your first go-to spot to find answers. As far as if you have not gotten into CS2 yet, that's usually one of the first things that people look at. I often get an email, hey, can you let me in? I can't. There's a process. Eventually I can help, but this has to go forward. So if you click on NCID instructions, it gives you a step-by-step. First, you have to get an NCID. Then you go to the CS2 page and ask to get in. It will say you've been denied, but that will send the request to IT, who then reviews the NCID information and asks me for a secondary approval. And then when I grant that, send you an email saying you now have access. So there is a little bit of a process. It's for security reasons. It usually goes fairly quickly, 2-3 days from after you get your NCID, sometimes faster. So just keep that in mind. If you haven't done it yet, go ahead and start getting that NCID process. Just click here and it'll let you know where to go. Okay, so that's as far as getting in. Once you have access, it's really a process of navigation and being prepared with the information that you need. So in CS2, there are a number of screens, but as far as contract creation, there's really 8 that are important. The first 7 are related to, or the first 6 really are most of the data entry. There's like a summary page, and then when you need to print the forms. But the key thing here is knowing and having prepared what you need before you get started. It really is a lot easier to just go in and do it than to kind of jump back and forth and fill things in later. So as much of this information that I'm going to go over that you can have, you get started, it will make it a little easier on you. So the first thing you'll get to is the first part. Once you've gone through the process, you've done all your inventory and evaluation. You know, the person's wants to apply, and you're ready to actually start to create these forms. You're going to start with a number. So you should have a numbering convention in your county. This is the numbering convention that we recommend. So most districts do this, but starting with 1 for ag cost share, 500s for CCAP, and 800s for AgRap. I have no idea where we started with those numbers, but they've been pretty consistent. Most districts use this. It just makes it really quick and easy. When you see that 8 at the beginning, you know it's there. And then you need to know what type of contract it is, and then the type of project. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pull up CS2 real quick. Hopefully this will go smooth, and we can. I'll show you a couple things like as we go on each one of these screens. Oh, there's 2 more people. Okay. Any questions so far, Lisa? No? Okay. All right. So here's when you log in to CS2, you'll see these screens. So most of the active ones for contracting are going to be under this contracting. Oh, wait. Are going to be under, sorry, let's switch back. Okay. Are going to be under this contracting tab. Yours will look a little different than mine. I have screens you don't have. So kind of try to just focus on the contracting screen here, and then the ones these are the stuff that I'm going to go over in the presentation. So if you're starting fresh, you're going to go to new contract, and hopefully this will go. And what you'll do is you select your county. Okay, so we'll just start here with Yancey because at the bottom, there's one thing I wanted to show you. It will fill in your county number, your year, and then you have to go and put in a number. Now, if that number exists, it'll give you a red. And I'd like to start by saying, if you see red, that's a sign you need to fix something. There could be something like that. There could be an error at the top of the screen here. Just if you're having trouble, that's the first thing. Look for any type of red. But if we wanted to make another I'm just going to make up something that I don't think is there. So 089. Now we have a real contract number, so we can go there. Let's say they had 89 contracts this year. You need to know at the beginning, and it's really important to get this right the first time, because this is something that's hard to fix later. But if it's an original, you'll click original, and then there's project. Now this is something that trips a lot of people up. They miss this one here. So if you click save, it's going to give you an error up there. That's what I wanted to show you. So that error up here will sometimes is very helpful to explain what you missed. So we're going to go back down here, and we're going to select none. There's no special project. And that's pretty much always the answer. A lot of these are irrelevant if you have CREP, swine dairy, or maybe impaired and impacted, potentially disaster these days. But 9 times out of 10, it's going to be none, and then you'll hit save and next, and it'll automatically take you to the next screen. Okay, so I made a dummy contract and I wanted to show you a little bit about how to find it while we're here. So we're in Wake County, so I kind of by default just like jumped to doing something in Wake County. And this is obviously not a real contract. This is all made up. I use NC State land, so we're not talking about any real cooperators and things like that. I just wanted to set that out at the beginning. But if you can put your number in here, and just so you know, if you do the county and hit search, it'll list every county, every contract in that county since 2012. Okay, I don't want to do it now because that will bring up people's names and addresses that I didn't want to get on the recording. But if you do your county number in the year and hit search, that will give you everything contract that you have in there for that year. So you can go back to 22, 23, whatever. If you know the contract number, like I made this one up, it's 101, you'll hit search and it'll bring it up. So I did a contract in my name with my work address here. So I'm going to open that up and now I have a new contract created. Okay. So back to the screen. So now we've gone through there, we've hit save, we have a new contract. The next thing is the contract information screen. As far as what to need to know here, you really need to be careful and make sure you pick this right program. So are you doing a ACSP, a CCAP, or an AGRA contract? Because what you select there populates the rest of that screen. So if you accidentally select the wrong program, CS2 is not smart enough to realize that. It does what you tell it to do, and then it will bring up questions that you don't know how to answer because they're irrelevant. But it will let you keep going incorrectly. So just make sure you have the right contract number. You need to know exactly where it is because you're going to put a point on a map, okay, in a GIS map. So we really like to put those points where it is. So you already know what you're doing with this project before you start creating this contract. So you can put that where it really is. We don't really want these at a person's house because then it'll send us to their home and it could be miles away where the actual BMP is. There's a box for general driving directions. It's not necessary anymore to put detailed driving directions in there, but we do ask that if there's anything helpful to know, is there a locked gate? Is it hard to access? Is there just anything important? Maybe details about how to find a particular thing on a very large property. Those are good to have in there. Another one, kind of like the project type, is the operation. A lot of people miss this drop down, but what type of operation are you working with? That's really necessary to understand when we're looking and reviewing your contracts that you submit. And then really, we're really trying to push to get good information in these, like we call them project descriptions or project justifications. So there's some boxes and some questions that you need to answer. And really kind of actually answering those is super helpful for us when we're reviewing it because it really just tells us what we're doing, and it's really important to get that justification on that contract with that person to receive state funds. So in order to help with that, I just wanted to share real quick, we do have, I'll put on the screen, a document that you can download in Excel, which has examples for each question. So in the programs, these are the questions at the top. And then for your BMP, we've got sample answers for every BMP there is. So like use this to get started. This is in an Excel so that you can modify and save it to your needs. So it's okay. A lot of projects are similar. I think specificity is always good, but this is at least just a jumping off resource that we have for you. So feel free to take use of that. And that really saves you time because it makes sense to us when we're reviewing them. So that'll speed up the review process. And then make sure you confirm the cost share rate. So if they have a special rate like 90%, you have to click that here, and then there's a form that you'll need to do. So just don't forget that as you go through. Okay, will you let me know what it is?
Mhm.
I'm gonna quick bring up that screen here just to show you something or what it looks like. So on the contract information screen, I already selected this, but there's a drop down for the program. Yeah.
She says, where is the sheet located for that?
So it's actually on, I'll show you a screenshot later, but it's actually on, should be on every single BMP page. This link is everywhere. So when you're looking at the BMP project description, there's a screenshot later in the presentation that shows, or I can go back to it. I think it was at the beginning, but I'll go through the back to that. A little tip here is sometimes to make sure you have your point there. So I'm going to go into this thing. This is just at NC State land. I'll go in real quick. But let's just say you used to have to fill all this information in, and now we use GIS. So you can go in here. You can see where the impaired and impacted fields are. So, or there's a impaired and impacted watersheds over here. So we're not in one. That lets us know that. We can go to this site. This project is for a grass waterway. So I've located it there. If, let's say, I needed to also do something up here, I can click add a location, put a point in, it'll go blue, and then when I save it, it'll add it to my list. So you can add, you only really need one per BMP or field. If you have a lot of fields, like on a cover crop, you potentially could have a lot of points. But so that's all you really need to do is to save it. One thing to keep in mind is if you hit delete, it's all or nothing. If you hit delete and you put 50 points in, they're all gone. So be careful where you put them in. Try to get it right the first time and hit save. That'll populate your watershed information. And then right here is the crop thing. So a lot of people miss this. So I'm hoping that this helps. This kind of course helps to remind you to get that one. So this is going to be a crop field. I've pasted in all these answers from that sheet, and I've answered the eligibility questions. So not 90%. I've got their documents. I've got them on hand in my office, and then I can hit edit and next. Sometimes if you go, people have had issues with, if you don't hit save, it'll kind of clear out everything when you hit the save and next button. And so what I kind of recommend is to maybe go do the bottom half first and then go back up, put in your points, make sure you hit save, make sure everything populates, and then hit edit and next. So that's got your location and you're ready to go to Cooperator. So on that Cooperator screen, I kind of just wanted to point out, I think Lisa will appreciate this. There's some really important stuff on this screen. I think a lot of times people just try to put it in real quick and get it on the contract, but you really do need to be very careful about entering this particular screen. First, you have to find if they're already in the system. If they're already in the system, you can just reuse them and add them. But you do have to search, select them. If they're not there, you put in a new cooperator. Now, it's very important as you're developing and you're talking to them to figure out how they want to apply and how you put it in. So are they going to apply as an individual or a business? Now this is a CCAP is probably going to be a homeowner or a school or something like that. It might be straightforward. A lot of times a farmer, they'll say, John Beck, yeah, I'm applying, I'll put it in. So they put my name on it, and then I get a 1099 in the mail and say, oh, I don't want this on my taxes. I want it on my business. So those conversations are really important to have up front, and it helps the payment process as well, not having to fix things or go backwards or re-sign contracts. So like, make sure they know they do get taxed on this information, on the money they receive in this program, and how would they like that to be, how would they like to apply as themselves on their taxes, or a business if they have an LLC, whatever, however they're set up, and then put that in as far as who's signing the contract. And then the other thing is make sure you put their legal name as it appears on their tax forms. If I go by Johnny and I write, you fill it out Johnny, that's not what's on my taxes. We've already got an issue when we're trying to pay somebody. So just make sure you make that clear. formal legal name on there. One other thing to look at is this used to always get me when I was out there, that zip +4. You always got to find that. Nobody knows it. So be prepared to have that. Make sure you have their phone number and their email. Emails are really more important to have when you get to the payment process. But if you've got it, talk about it up front. And then after that, you've got a cooperator type selection. So there's a bunch of check boxes at the bottom. Also incredibly important you get this right the first time. Every contract has to have an applicant on it. If it's more than a year contract, so more than a cover crop or residue and tillage, it has a multi-year maintenance period. You need to also have the landowner. That might be the same person, and it might be a different person. So you can have multiple people on these contracts. Not a problem at all. It's just more stuff to enter. And then if they are a supervisor or the commission, please check it. Don't forget to check it off here. And then there are this call out box I have here is just really a reminder that if you do have a supervisor application, there are additional steps to go over, which we can go over later. There's forms that you have to apply. So if you do have one, especially the first one, reach out and we can kind of go over it. But there are links on the website for these that tell you step by step, and then links to the form. So that's what these are. And then one person can fill in multiple boxes. Okay, what's the question?
Did I just hear that every person who receives financial assistance from us must report the grant money as taxable income?
So if they receive money from the Department of Agriculture, they will receive a 1099 for income which is taxable from the department at the end of the year. Yeah, above a certain amount. Is it 600? It's kind of low. So most of our people, if they get money from us, it will be on their taxes. They will get a 1099. Almost everyone, unless it's a very small contract.
Some folks added some other links in there that might be helpful for people to look at, including the zip code extension.
Yeah, it's pretty handy. The USPS. So yeah, keep that in mind. Thanks for everybody who's chiming in to put in some additional links there. So I'll go over here, take my time. Ooh, okay, I have 17 minutes. So I'm going to go over to back here to the contract cooperator. So the first thing you do, I'm going to say, let's see if there's somebody with Lisa's last name. There is, but that's not one of mine. So I would click new cooperator, and then you're going to select individual, business, or other. It's pretty much always individual or business. You fill in everything. If you don't, it'll give you a red question mark here. And then these are the boxes. So you really need to make sure that you have all those there. I've already put in my information, so I've showed up there. But I guess the key thing is if you have a commission member on your that applies for cost share in your district, you might check applicant. They might own the land. They're a district supervisor and they are on the commission. So check all that apply. I think that's kind of the main thing to pay attention to there. Okay, I can't see them here.
It says if there's a written lease agreement between the farmer and landowner, does the landowner still need to sign it?
Absolutely, yes, they do. If they own the land, they sign. It doesn't matter about the lease. There are contractual stuff, which I think we don't have time to get into here today, as far as contract entry goes. So the next screen you'll get to is the BMP input screen. This is the most fun, but there's also a lot going on here. So what you need to know is what funding you're going to use. So are you going to use cost share, ag wrap, impaired, impacted, special funding, swine dairy? You need to have the funding available. You need to select which one you're using. You need to know the tract and field if it's a farm. You need to know what all the BMPs are, all the components that go in those BMPs, the quantities for those components, and the rate that you're using. So 75, 90. If you have a district, you do 65, 50, whatever it is, that's fine. You just need to know you know what it is. So I'm going to go there. I have a bunch of tips here, which I'm just going to show you on the screen. I think that might be easier, and I believe we'll share these so you can have this later too. But if you're going to go to, if I can get my computer to stay, if you're going to go to the BMP screen here, which we have, you can see here this contract is still initiated. So I've got the funding available. I'm going to use cost share. So my first tip is don't start putting in stuff down here. Go top to bottom. That seems to be very helpful as far as glitches in the system. So first select your program. You have the track. So I'm going to put in 1587. This is a made up track and field number, by the way. Every BMP and ACSP is listed here, so you're going to go and find the one that you need. This is a grass waterway. One thing I'll note is please don't neglect adding, this is one of the #1 thing that's missed is the BMP units, okay? So you enter them up here and hit update, but there's, and they show up here. If those are 0 or they're blank, then you'll get your contract pended. So don't forget that. So this, I'm going to correct this. It's actually 2. Sorry, 0.2. And then I'm going to say I have JAA for that. So I'm going to update the units. Now I've got it on there correct. Now I've put in most of the components here, but let's just say so you can see I will add another component. So I've got everything filled in top to bottom. Let's say I need matting. So you really just need to put in something there, hit search, give it a second, and then it'll give you anything with matting. So how you search there, what you put in is really a skill that you'll develop over a time. But using the cost list to use keywords is the most helpful. So I'm just going to add this erosion control. I need 484 yards. I've got 75% cost rate. So there's my planned cost. Now, one thing I wanted to point out is if you don't have enough money or you get in a situation where things just aren't working out and maybe you need to do a supplement, do not play with this percent. You can do the planned cost. So let's just say I only had, $850 and I'm going to do a supplement. I can just put that amount in here and that's what I'll add. So it's easier to just do that. Because they qualify for 75, so we want to make sure we give them that credit. We'll make up the difference later. And then you hit add component, and then it's up there. If you need to make an edit, you just hit select. You come down here, you find the right BMP, you hit edit or delete, and I'm just going to move this back to the regular. Say I have enough or I've got more money, change it, and now it's been corrected. So real quick, a couple other tips going back to the thing. We do have some common components listed on the BMP pages. So if you go to that, it's there. If you don't have enough money, go ahead and add everything else with 0 in that plan cost, just so it's on your original. That makes it easier to supplement later. Because it's already included on the contract. It avoids CS2 kind of locks or prevents you from adding things after the fact. And then just also keep in mind, we don't mix programs, so you can't have ACSP and AgRep BMPs or components on the same contract. They have to be separate. And so just make sure if you're doing a stream exclusion and you have a well, make sure you don't select the AgRep water supply well. They're technically different things. So just be real careful when you click that button that you're clicking the right one.
I have a question.
Okay, so yeah, we'll do questions real quick. I've got about 10 minutes, so I'll try to hurry.
Question from Shannon. If there are multiple landowners for different fields and land of the same BMP, but is all maintained by the same farmer, do all of the landowners need to be on the contract and sign for? Say for cover crops, sometimes there are multiple landowners, but the same cooperator maintaining.
Okay, well, how about I answer it? We'll see if we got the right answer.
All right.
We'll have fun. So if you have, with a cover crop, if it's a 1-year contract, you don't have to have a landowner, period. If you have multiple landowners on a contract, say for something like saw-based rotation, you might be doing multiple farms at one time. Typically, to make it easier in the long run, what people do is they have a separate contract for each landowner property. So you might have a farmer that has 3 contracts, but it's easier to get people to sign them separately. If there's any issues later or one of those farms gets sold, they're not all combined together. So I would say the best thing to do, even though you have to spend more time in CS2 or print out more papers, is if you have multiple landowners on a longer term project, so a 5-10 year contract, just do a separate contract, including the land that each owner owns, even though it's the same farmer, or you might have the same applicant. Is that kind of what you said?
I didn't say about making a separate contract, just that if it's maintenance is over 1 year, that the landowners need to be signed.
Okay. And are there other questions? No? Okay. I'll keep going, and then hopefully I'll have time. I want to make sure I only have a few more slides left. I just want to make sure.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
they'll be able to get that.
Okay, the next screen is expected results. The last few are really simple. I think inputting the BMPs is one of the hardest things to do, and then getting that contract information screen with the map and the justification. The rest of them are pretty simple. So what you have here is so this is the screenshots from the Grass Waterway BMP under the drop down for CS2 contract requirements. And then somebody asked before where that project description is. It's right there. So there's the CS2 project description link. You also have the average cost list link. So it's kind of readily available there on each BMP page. And then we have the expected results listed. So this one has 4 items. This screenshot here is actually from the PDF of the policy. So they are the same right there. And so it's in a couple places. But that's something to do early. Make sure you have it. You've done all your calculations, and then you're ready to enter them when you're putting your contract information in. Entering them is actually pretty easy. Doing the calculations, I think, is the hard part. So just kind of get on that, jump on that early. If you don't have them and submit the contract, it will get pended for any item missed. And just double check these to make sure you have all of them. Oftentimes somebody will put in one of them and maybe miss something or forget to add it. So make sure you have each of them. This part's pretty easy to enter. So if we go to I'll come back to it. If we go to the expected results, I put them all in here with numbers, but it really is pretty simple to just add one. You just go and from the drop down, select it and put in the quantity. If it's animals, put in quail 5 and you hit add. So I can add for no reason 5 quail on that. So they're pretty easy to put in as long as you have the numbers up front. Okay. And then the next page that you go to after you put in your results is the reference materials. This is going to go back to that same page. So here's your results, and then here's your reference. So this is going to tell you what you need to have uploaded. Again, the same thing, just double check that. Make sure you know what's going to be required. This is what we reference when we're checking stuff. So you need a complete and full 11 form, which is kind of the contract summary form with all the signatures. Job approval needs to be taken care of there too. And then you need your map. Those are pretty much standard for everything. From the policy, you can see it just has those 2. On the website, we kind of just have a reminder if they're 90%, don't forget to upload that form. There could be other, if it's a supervisor, you need supervisor form. So there could be a lot of other things that you need depending on the BMP. But your minimal frame of reference is going to be on these 2 documents here. And then kind of for tips, remember to select the correct material type. Sometimes people will forget to change that, so it'll say photos, but it's a contract form. And then just use a clear and obvious naming mechanism for each one of your things. It just makes it easier. It makes the review process go faster as well. So if I go to my dummy contract here, it's got defaults to BMP photos. This is what I meant. Select the correct one. If you don't see your item here, select other, and then you're going to give it a clear title. So you know when you make a PDF and it gives you JBL42157, it's easier for us if you just name it, tell us what we're looking at, so we know. It goes faster. You're going to put who put it in. Any comments, probably potentially not necessary. So I've got my 11 form here. I've already uploaded that. If I made a mistake, I can delete it. I can modify it. But I don't have a map. So I'm going to attempt to go here. I'm going to select map. I'm going to say land map title. I've got my name here, and let's see if I can navigate to it. So I'm going to say, I think I put it on my desktop to make it easier. And here's my grass waterway map. So I open that. I've got it there just like you would add anything else, and click add. And now I've got my map there. So I'm ready to go to my next screen, which is the detailed view screen. So as far as the details view screen goes, letting me skip. Going on with my mouse. Got it. As far as the detailed view screen goes, this is really just like a summary, so you can see everything in one place. It's long. It's a full screen. It has all those like kind of in stacked on top of each other. You can open it and close them. But the really important thing is that this is where you submit it. So at the bottom, you need to put where your board approved the contract. There's a date picker in there, and then you can submit it. If you need to delete it, if it's already been submitted and you need to make a correction or a revision, that's where you details view screen. So this is pretty handy for just going back and looking at stuff and checking everything. But really, it also helps you to double check. So you can go through it again, look at everything, and make sure you've got it the way that you want it before you hit that submit button. So this is what it looks like. The contract status at the top, this means you did entered the information correctly. If you have a red X there, it means you missed something. So that's your indicator. Once it's submitted and we review it, if we approve it, you'll get green checks here. If it's pending for anything, it'll show you. So it kind of lets you know overall where you're at as far as getting this contract approved. Now there are drop downs. These all open and close, and if you hit edit, you can jump back to it. This handy dandy expand all button right here opens everything at once. And one thing I wanted to show you is on that screen, oftentimes on the contract information where it shows the map, it'll show up blank. The easiest thing to do is hit hide and show again. And then look, there we go. There's our map, and we can zoom into it. So we can go through, we can check, make sure we've got everything in there. It looks the way we want it. We've got all our BMP in there correctly. We've got all our effects. We've got our required uploads. So our board approval, let's say that was last week on Wednesday. Now I've got everything in here. I can hit the submit button. It'll say, "Are you sure?" Make sure that you're sure, and hit OK. At that point, when that goes through, it'll show submitted here. So this contract status screen will let you know where you're at. One last thing I wanted to go over is the form screen. So at the top there, really, this is where you're going to get your just to print out your forms. You can either select a drop down here or click the program. When you click the program, you put your contract number in here and you select the form. So just kind of keep in mind the cost share application form is the 1, the 2 is the contract summary is the 11, and the RFP is the 3. There is a 2A in there. That is pretty rarely used, so I didn't include it here, but that's if you have a third-party applicant, which is not that common and a little more complex. So in my last 20 seconds here, and then I'll try to hurry up for Lisa, you've got forms. It'll take you over there, hopefully. Forms menu, and then I can do ACSP. Just it'll print it out. It'll get you a PDF is easiest to do. And then the let's just say I want to print out the RFP, or how about the contract forms there. So you just hit view report, it'll generate it, export it as a PDF, print it, and you can get it signed. But it should have everything you need available on that screen there. Then, okay, so that's everything you have. Knowing ahead of time is really helpful. It'll make it a lot easier. And then you get to jump in and have fun with CS2 and get into the contract entry. Now, do I have a second to answer any question? I'm just trying to hurry. Yeah. What is it?
It's in CS2, this is after you said for BMPs of maintenance period greater than 1 year, that you put multiple landowners agreements in there. The question is, in CS Square, how do you know which landowners are linked to separate contracts for the same land area getting assistance?
So if they're separate contract, it doesn't really matter if they're linked. They're just all, I mean, you can plan them all together. I would do all my planning at one time. You could even have one folder where they're all together. That's kind of, you would have to just organize which one goes with which land. As far as the BMP planning, it's probably all related.
You could search on names in CS Square, but otherwise you'd have to keep it separate in your office probably, or a way to tell which is which in your office.
Yeah. Any other questions? And then, okay, I'm going to kind of quick, I'll stick around and if there's follow-ups later, we're going to do a switcheroo here and Lisa's going to go. But anyway, thanks everybody. Just reach out to your cost share specialist if you need any help as you start the journey for CS2 entry.